Hello and welcome to the Bad Take. My name is Tamara.
And I'm Himal. Today we have a very special guest with us. His name is Dilina Amaruwan Pathirage. He goes as at Dili on Twitter. Do you want to introduce yourself to us?
I'm a writer at Raw. I mostly do long form content, feature articles, and I do some script writing for our in-house video team.
Cool. Today we are gonna do another At the Movies episode. The first one was a bit of a disaster because it was just Tamara and I basically talking about what movies we liked.
Yeah, there was basically no substance to it. We just went back and forth with what movies we liked and disliked. So we thought this time we'll bring a guest in.
Bring in an expert,
an expert, and then have.
I dispute that, but okay, I didn't.
No, at least we can have some, I guess, in-depth discussions about some movies that are popular right now, or we can even talk about old movies, I think.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be movies. It can be TV shows also. So, Dili, seen any good movies lately?
It's weird how many times I've heard this from you. So, honestly, movies I've watched recently have mostly been Netflix movies. To be perfectly honest.
You mean Netflix productions?
Netflix productions, because to be honest, like my movie watching has gone down a lot, mainly because TV has been so good. So unlike a few years ago, I've watched a lot more TV and I've shifted a lot more to anime than to watching movies. Because honestly, most movies have not been as interesting in my opinion. I haven't wanted to watch movies. Lately, the movies that I can recall watching have been actually teen movies. So something I really loved was To All the Boys I Loved Before. Like it's a Netflix teen romance movie. I thought that was absolutely epic, and it's not underrated, but I think more people than its intended audience should see it.
Who's in it?
So it's all newcomers. I don't even remember the names. I'm sad to say that I don't remember names. It's all a completely new cast. Very few adults. It's all very well acted teenagers, maybe, but it's it's not a soppy teen comedy. It's a very sort of practical-ish. There's no for want of another term, bullshit in it. So I don't want to spoil the story, but people who are not teenagers and not people who are not generally watching teen romances should watch it.
Is this more of a rom-com or like
It is a rom-com.
typical teen sex movie?
No, it's not a sex movie at all. It's not American Pie derivative.
Superbad, no,
nothing like that.
Superbad was great.
Superbad was great, but this is not that kind of movie. It's a very sort of heartfelt, very close to the heart kind of movie.
Okay.
And it's a very feel-good movie, and I think more people should watch it. The other movie that a lot of people pair that along is something called Sarah Burgess is a Loser. It's also sort of in the same format, but I didn't like it as much, mostly because for the most part it stuck to the old format. Like there's some kind of funny hook. In this case, the hook is like it's a take on the whole Cyrano de Bergerac story, where someone not conventionally attractive uses their communicating or writing skills to get with someone who is conventionally attractive. So it has a whole hook, and there's a whole other argument on whether this was date rape or something like that. But honestly, I don't think it's as good a movie. To me, the most fun I've had watching a movie recently is To All the Boys I Loved Before. It's a really funny movie, an interesting take.
Who was the director?
I don't remember.
I guess we can look that up.
Yeah.
We'll include that in the show notes. What would you say is your favorite teen movie of all time, if you had to choose?
Of all time, what was that movie with Heath Ledger in it?
Oh, 10 Things I Hate About
10
You.
Things I Hate About
Yeah,
You.
that was pretty good. Yeah.
I really liked that.
Wasn't what's his name in it? Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, yes.
Yeah.
He's the secondary subplot, yes.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, I guess you can't really compare that to American Pie because that was
No, you
Yeah.
can't. But like
the teen sex comedies are a genre unto its own, right?
or
It's-
genre
yeah.
on its own. And to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of those recently. It seems to have died out.
Yeah,
Like otherwise, it's like very.
it feels
low
like such a
straight-
like a late 90s, early 2000s thing almost,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
You don't see it much anymore. And if you do, it's like straight to video or something.
Yeah,
You
the
find.
ones that do come out these days, I haven't seen any in a while. I mean, they tend to get panned by critics a lot.
Yeah, like romances in general have like pretty much disappeared.
Yeah.
Even I like even if I see a romance movie that I want, it's usually something like really old,
Right.
like the Before series or like Four Weddings and a Funeral or something like that. That's really
Okay.
old. Like nothing recently has piqued my interest. So the fact that Netflix came up with something like this was really something.
Speaking of really old, I saw Grease for the first time just the other day. It was. Have you seen it? Have you guys
I've
seen it?
seen it. I've seen Grease.
It was so good. I mean, it's really obviously it's very cheesy and corny and
Yeah.
like very campy, but I liked it.
I think that's why it's still good because it's so campy. It's a whole other level on.
But I wonder if it was campy back then. I think it was made in 1978. Was it considered campy even then?
Probably not as much as it would
Yeah.
now, but yeah, it was a little bit weird. Like now, of course, like some of the lyrics, like I've seen people question some of the lyrics who are watching it now.
Yeah. There's some questionable lyrics.
Yeah, but I think it's still entertaining because
Something about creaming her panties or pants. Yeah, right.
No,
And
no, no,
This
no,
is
no.
while they're singing, by the way. John
No, no,
Travolta
no,
is
no.
singing, and something
No, no,
about
it's
what's the line? How does it go?
tell me more. Did she put up a fight?
Yeah. No, that's that famous song. There's another song where I think John Travolta says something about creaming somebody's pants.
I
Yeah.
don't remember that.
Which I thought was pretty risque for 1978.
Probably. Maybe no one like realized it or thought like laughed it off.
Yeah, probably. But anyway, he was great. He was fantastic.
Yeah, they were both great, and I think it's campy, and they were both great. Just I think it's still enjoyed today. Like Grease, NBC did a Grease musical,
Oh yeah.
which was also pretty well received. Like more like they did a musical Sound of Music thing before that, which was really panned if I remember correctly. But the Grease musical went really well. Like a lot of people watched it, and it was quite popular.
I've yet to see Saturday Night Fever.
If
I'm not mistaken, that's better than.
That's
Grease.
better.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
also Travolta at his finest.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I mean, I've seen that dance.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
The Bee Gees.
Definitely. It's one of the few movies of that.
The guy was like the definition of cool back then, right?
Yeah, sure. I can't really say I don't know, but probably.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned musicals.
Yes.
Are you a fan of musicals?
I am actually. I like musicals. I
Right.
can't say I'm a quote unquote expert because
Right.
there's plenty I have not seen, but I do enjoy musicals. It's not something it's something I like.
Anything that you recommend?
So off the bat, definitely Sound of Music. But if you want something quote unquote darker, Chicago, West Side Story, obviously. I would love it if they made a Wicked musical, because I've only seen that through like camcorder footage that people have snuck into from the Broadway balconies.
Right.
But a Wicked movie would be amazing. But yeah, a lot of musicals are just good. Mostly they aren't terrible, but generally they are overlooked. There's actually something, I don't remember the name. HBO used to do this thing where they had plays. They would record plays and release them as movies, quote unquote movies. Actually, that's something that Rubawani used to do back in the day. Remember, not Ruban, ITN. ITN used to like have really good plays, and they'd record them and they'd broadcast them. I think I found what's that play with Jayarat Manoratna acting as a teacher? Gurudaru is on YouTube because
Right,
someone
okay.
recorded the ITN broadcast and like put it up. So there was a film, like I can't remember. If I can remember, I'll just tell you guys later. But now I can't remember what that was. But there are plenty of. I think La La Land was the was like trying to pull a resurgence out of it, but it hasn't really happened. But musicals are like once in a million thing.
Was
now.
that the most recent mainstream musical?
And I think till Mary Poppins. The
When-
Mary Poppins remake
Right.
should probably is a musical. Could be classified as a musical.
Right, and that's coming out next year, right?
No, it's coming out this
year,
now.
okay.
This year, I think this December. I think it's even coming here. Like, I think Scope has it on.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yes, do we know if Emily Blunt is going to be singing herself, or is she going
I'm
to be lip
not
syncing?
sure, honestly. I'm not sure. So probably she will. I think she can sing, but I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into it. Because honestly, I love the original. So this is sort of blasphemous to me, but I'm probably going to see it.
It's going to be a sequel,
It's
right?
a sequel.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a reboot. It's a sequel.
Not like a soft reboot or whatever.
No. So it's if I remember correctly, it's the kids grown up and their kids in this movie.
Right.
But yeah, I might be wrong on that. But if I remember that is a storyline. Like the kids she looked after in the first movie are now grown up, and she's come back to look after their kids who are going through sort of the same thing.
How come some genius studio exec didn't think about doing this same thing to The Sound of Music? Or has it already been done?
As far as I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why that's not happened. Maybe they will soon enough. It might not be. No, it is as well received here there as it is here, right?
What?
I mean, Sri Lankans love Sound of Music.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not as...
We had one movie and a TV show that was based on The Sound of Music. Singular.
I don't know about the TV show. I know the movie.
I forget who was in it. I think it was Vasanthi Chaturani who was in it.
Could be. I haven't remember.
This was some years ago. In the movie, it was what's her name? Was it Bujjamma Shunkun?
Yes, Bujjamma
Yes.
Shunkun. What's his name? Renuka Balasuriya and Somaratha Disanayake.
Right.
They did it.
Of course, Somaratha Disanayake did that.
And
Yeah.
without any acknowledgement to the English one.
Right. So it's like a blatant rip-off. It's
Blatant rip-off. Frame for frame rip-off. There were people who like put the trailers together.
No, I mean that's okay, right? I mean it's not unusual
No,
for
it's
a
not
movie
unusual.
to be.
It's not unusual.
Yeah.
But like, it was.
But they didn't
jarring.
acknowledge the fact that it was based on.
They didn't
Okay,
acknowledge it.
right.
Like nowhere was it mentioned, and it was very jarring.
But, I mean that happens in Bollywood all the time. So do we have any other like big singular movies that were like direct straight up copies of big Hollywood or Bollywood movies?
Not that I can. So there was a recent horror movie that took a lot of cues from The Exorcist.
Oh, that was by Udaya Kant.
Udaya Suriya's movie. I
What
don't
was it
remember
called?
the name. I don't remember the name, but I remember. I really wanted to go see it, but somehow I missed it at the theaters. I hope I can find a DVD of it or something. But like a lot of the scenes were like straight up Exorcist, except it was like transplanted to a village home instead of suburban wherever in the US. But it was a lot of Exorcist scenes.
But was it executed well enough?
For a Sri Lankan movie, it was really well executed, I thought.
Huh.
Like, practical effects were really good.
Like lots of jump scares.
I think so. And like beds floating and stuff.
Okay.
When it clearly wasn't CGI. If it was CGI, it was really good CGI. But it looks like practical effects, which is something really
that's cool.
interesting. It was
Hey,
like
I mean,
2 years ago.
Is it an original story? Do we know? No.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Man. I really wanted to see it, but I couldn't. But I do want to give a shout out to Sahodaya. Have you seen the TV show?
I've only seen a few episodes so far. Like I couldn't get into it as much as I was into Kumbhi. Not that it's bad or anything.
It's a very different, TV
right?
show.
Yeah.
Like I think most people pair it because Tuminudhan is the lead in both.
Yeah.
But it's like the complete opposite of Kumbhi, where Kumbhi is like a very like action focused. Like it's very fast paced. You go from one to the other.
And very plot heavy.
Very plot heavy.
Yeah.
Sahodaya, I really like. I don't necessarily agree with the politics because it's a very preachy and very political show. But I think it was great for a difference because it's very short, only like 30 episodes, which is weird for a Sri Lankan teledrama. And it's very quiet, for want of a better word. Like very few things happen. It's just these people existing and this character trying to get through this. I think the sound design was really good and the music was really good. It's definitely worth a watch for something different.
Well, what are the politics like?
So it's very preachy. It's very preachy. Like a lot of the scenes are just Tumindu's character expressing his views on things. So are you familiar with the story?
Not really, no.
So the story is like Tumindu Donandanna plays this really famous journalist,
Okay.
a really successful journalist, and a friend of his is tipping him off to these really explosive secrets in the government or whatever. And they get him killed or disappeared.
Spoiler.
No, so that's in the first
Okay,
episode.
the first episode. Okay.
That's literally the first
I
episode.
remember that. Yeah.
So, and the rest of it is like, you should see it.
Okay. It's all on YouTube, right?
It's all on YouTube.
Okay.
It's great that ITN's putting everything out on YouTube. So, like you don't need to do the traditional media thing. But yeah, it's a really good story, I think.
I mean, it's fine that it's political. I mean, I guess you could even forgive it for being a little preachy, but how is the acting and writing?
It's actually not bad. They've all picked some of the better actors in Sri Lanka's sphere. Okay. I think the only newcomer is Tumindu Donandanna's real life wife, who is playing his character's wife in that. Even she's okay. The character fits her personality and style.
Yeah, I've seen her in one other teledrama. She's pretty good.
Yeah. So it's definitely well done.
So a friend of ours shared this post on Facebook the other day with it was basically like a bunch of posters for some upcoming Sri Lankan films. Do you want to maybe have a look at them now? We open it up. So there is The Frozen Fire. What's the singular name for this? I forget.
Even I forgot.
Ginnen Upan Seethala. It's a biopic of Rohana Vijayveera. This has been coming for a while. Yeah. So. And I've seen some behind the scenes footage and
it looks really good.
Kamal looks fantastic. Kamal Adararachi plays Rohana Vijayveera. He looks the part. He really looks the part. He
definitely looks the part. Like there are some Sri Lankan movies that are really pushing the boundaries, and like it's not the typical running around flowers thing that we like to make fun of. Now there are actually really good productions coming out.
No, but that's I mean, I don't know that that's a fair comparison, because that's commercial cinema. That's kind of.
I mean, is it fair to call these art house films anymore? Like, do you really have a Sri Lankan commercial cinema now?
I guess maybe not anymore. But a few years ago, there was a very clear divide, right? There were the art house films that went and won awards, and then there were the Ranjan Ramanayaka movies and the Shashi Vijayendras and the Jeevan Kumar Tungas.
I don't remember those like really coming out after say 2010.
Right.
So in my mind, around that time when the whole historical, like big budget historical movie phase came,
right,
I think that became mainstream cinema, and it kind of killed off the whole romance movie thing.
Right.
And now since that's died out,
has it died out?
Like,
didn't Maharaja Durgamana come like a couple of years ago?
Isn't that recent?
Right. Okay.
It's not that recent. I don't remember. So the quote unquote historic big budget thing is the Devana's Ravana adaptation.
Yeah.
I don't remember a movie like that coming out recently. But
this is the one with the Quinjet, right?
The one with the Quinjet.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of noise for movies like this, this Rohana Vijayveera biopic, and there's been a lot of movies that I think would have been called art house a few years ago, except they have money and they have
commercial appeal.
They have commercial appeal.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure you can call these art house anymore.
Right.
You can't call Gajaman an art house movie. That's
no,
not,
of course not.
That's not. It has a lot of mainstream appeal. It has a history behind it, popular history behind it, but it's not really that quote-unquote mainstream type thing.
But if you were to pick a few directors' names, and could you like box them into like a category of art house if you wanted to?
Honestly, I don't think I'm the best person to do that because I don't know a lot of the new directors. There are a lot of new directors. Like you can't like say this is by Jayanta Chandrasiri or this is by Roy Da Silva. You can't say that looking at a poster anymore. There are people you have never heard of doing really good movies. Like there are people like pushing their own projects through somehow getting funding and making really good movies. Like I don't know who's doing a lot of these new movies that are coming out, but the posters look amazing.
Yeah, I mean, now we're looking at a bunch of these. There's something called Bahuvitavadiya starring Kalna Gunasekara of Kumbio fame. He played Priyanta in Kumbio. And of course, Gajaman. Gajaman looks promising.
Looks promising.
Yeah.
Does look interesting.
Who's in the cast? Pudimalli and Chudimalli, right?
Yeah, I think they'll do really well. I saw some people had like expressed concern that they have sort of modernized it.
Right.
It's not the whole like wearing a sarong type Gajaman, but they like quote unquote modernized it. But I think it'll be okay. I think it's a big deal that we even have a 3D animated movie.
Yeah.
Is this our first?
I think so. Yeah, fully 3D animated movie. I think so.
Does Gajaman look like a white guy?
They all kind of do.
They all look white.
I mean, some of them are. We have the token brown guy over there, guy in the Sri Lanka cricket t-shirt. Adventures of Ricky Dean by Budi Kirtisena.
I don't know much about that, but I really want to.
I'm not a huge fan of Budi Kirtisena. I mean, I think he works for the most part, but I mean, I find him a little too experimental sometimes.
I suppose, yeah. I can see where you're coming
But
from.
Mahendra Perera is in it, so that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, completely.
Like, in my mind, he can do no wrong. That guy, he's just amazing. There's another one starring Kalna Gunasekara called Veyasiduru. We don't know when these are coming out, or it just says coming soon.
Yeah. So that's another thing. Like, our movie, Sri Lanka's movie release so completely screwed.
Right, yeah. And I think Nidahasepia got a lot of flack because it was pushed forward.
Yeah. I think there's all kinds of influences that go into that, and like if you have the right connections, it comes out. I've seen a lot of people in the industry like publicly complain about this. It's not something I know personally, but it is screwed up that like you see these promotional materials and you can't get to see them. That you like can't plan to see them.
Yeah, exactly. This Vijay Veera biopic, I mean, we've been hearing about it for how long now?
Yeah, ages.
Yeah.
But like no idea when it's coming out. Or
is there even a trailer out?
I don't remember seeing the trailer. I've seen behind the scenes footage.
Video, like it was not a proper trailer.
Yeah, behind the scenes video, right? But man, Kamal Adhararachi looked the part.
No. He's a complete.
He had like transformed himself. I thought.
I really believe in his skill.
Yeah,
like
he's great.
Regardless of whatever is preventing him from acting in good roles, he's definitely a skilled actor.
Okay, so who are like our greats? Like we have Kamal, we have Mahendra Perera. Like who are some of the more unheard of ones? Like now we know about guys like Kalana.
Yeah.
And
honestly, I think pretty much all our veteran comedy actors are unsung heroes.
Joe Abe Vikram.
Even Joe is serious, can be classified as serious actor.
Yeah.
But like the very basic the people we always classify as comedy actors.
Do you remember when, like in Hollywood, like when Jim Carrey, like he kind of like made this transition from a comedic actor to like in what was that with the movie with Katie Holmes? Sorry, not Katie Holmes.
Kate Winslet.
Winslet.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah. So I think Joe Abe Vikrama kind of went through a similar transition, right, over the decades.
Yes. Yeah.
In the latter part of his career, he was not in comedies. He was in.
No, he was in.
Like he was in Purahanda Kalura.
Exactly. So I don't. So people like say Dulika Maharapana,
she's great.
Yeah. Sunil Hettiarach. He's always in was in comedic movies, but I think he's a great actor. So I think people like that, when they're given a serious role, they do really well. I think that trope about comedy actors being the best actors, I think that's absolutely true. And like a lot of Sri Lankan comedy actors are looked down on, but they shouldn't be, and they should be given more room to grow.
Do you include the slapstick ones in there?
Kind of. See, so I remember there was this one really serious movie that Bandhu Samarasinha did.
Oh yeah, with Dilhani, right?
Yeah, with Dilhani.
And his family is like his marriage is falling apart.
Yeah,
And,
it's very weird. But I think he has the capability,
right?
Just not used in that sense. Like there are people in comedy films that I think cannot act at all. But there are people like that who I think we've like not expected the best from.
Yeah, no, even I was surprised. I mean, Bandhu, I mean, he clearly has the chops.
He has the chops. And like there are serious actors that do really shit comedy work.
Yeah.
For example, so Sri Lanka's first 2 English movies, It's a Matter of Time and It's a Matter of Love. I did not expect Gamini Fonseca to be in the first one. So Roy De Silva made
both movies, right?
Both movies. Yeah. Sri Lanka's first English movie was called It's a Matter of Time. It's from 1991 and it was actually the debut of a 16-year-old Sangeeta Veeraratne. So the basic storyline is Kamala Darachi's character and Sangeeta Veeraratne's characters were married. And they split apart because Kamala Darachi is trying to be a musician and he's like in all nights in clubs and blah blah blah. It's a typical, quote unquote, typical story. But it's actually quite terrible. There's no excuse to be made. The film is quite terrible. You watch it to laugh at it, not to laugh with it. And in my opinion, it should be watched just to see Gamini try and pull a coherent performance out of this mess.
Was his the best performance?
Yes, by far, by a long shot. So he's trying.
Right.
There is a scene there which I think everyone should see, where he bashes his son Kamala Darachi's character for not being a proper musician. Where he's like doing a dance step and like I don't remember the dialogue, but it's epic. It should be seen. The sequel, It's a Matter of Love, is worse.
Oh, I've seen that.
We went for it together.
That film is a work of art, man.
But I love it. I think everyone should see it just because.
You ironically love it, or you do actually like it? Like I had a blast.
Yeah, that's the most I've laughed watching any film ever in my lifetime. I promise you that. Like Hollywood, Bollywood, whatever, I have never laughed that much at any film. And it's terrible. I mean, where else would you get to hear Vijayananda Sevi say, "Baby, don't go donating babies to girls"?
Yeah. Oh my God.
That line is epic. And it's full of lines. Or Anarkali say, "Don't be a cad, Marlon."
Oh God, yes. Hey, who played Marlon? This guy, right?
Saranga
Disasekar. Wes.
Yeah. It's amazing. People should watch it.
Anarkali, I thought was decent.
No,
semi-decent. She was okay.
No, she
wasn't terrible.
She played Anarkali.
She played herself.
She played all her films. She plays herself.
Yeah.
And Torana's new YouTube channel has It's a Matter of Time uploaded. You can watch it there. And some
for free.
For free. It's a full movie is up there. And some other person, I don't remember who, I'm sorry, but thank you so much for you uploaded the entire movie It's a Matter of Love to YouTube as well.
Great.
If you're on my Facebook, I've shared it. You can find it there. And I've shared it on Twitter as well.
No, I think you guys like owe it to yourselves to kind of see these movies because I mean, as Sri Lanka's only English language films,
I mean, you think Daniel Dawal Miguel 3 was bad? You should watch these.
Wait, did I think Daniel Dawal Miguel 3 was bad?
It was bad.
I've seen 2 of them.
One was good, one was okay, 2 was passable, 3 was terrible. 3 was shit.
Yeah, they were bad. They were objectively bad. But you know what I liked? I thought Parliament jokes was okay.
It was okay. Yes, I like Parliament jokes.
Did Ranjan direct it?
I don't remember that.
I remember it actually being funny.
Parliament jokes one was good. I do remember it being good.
Because that's the problem with like post Joe Abe Vikram Sri Lankan comedies. They're actually not funny.
They're not funny.
But this one was okay.
This was okay. Yeah. So anyway, Sri Lankan comedies basically barely their storyline
Right.
to keep joke after joke together. Like there aren't coherent comedy scripts anymore. Like say Columbus Onion,
Right.
that where it's a coherent comedic script. That isn't usually done. That isn't done anymore.
When was the last time we had a good comedy?
Exactly.
Machang, I suppose. But
would you call it a
which
comedy?
technically not, it's also technically not a. I mean, it is a Sri Lankan film, but
It's
the
a-
director was not Sri Lankan, so I don't know. I mean,
No, but would you call it a comedy anyway? I wouldn't call it a comedy.
it's not really a comedy, but it had
At best, a
comedic
dramedy.
elements. Yeah, I suppose.
I think we just laugh because that aspect of Sri Lankan life itself is absurd, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's a comedy in and of itself.
So hold on, Tamar has been quiet. Tamar, what's your favorite Sri Lankan movie of all time? If you had to choose.
That's. I don't know really. I've never really thought about it. I have to admit I haven't seen many.
Easiest cop out is Burhan the Khalwar. Everyone remembers that.
I haven't seen Purana Kalur.
Was that Prasanna Vitanage's best work?
It's his most memorable work. I'll give him
Yeah.
that.
Hey, Iramediam was pretty memorable.
Irmedium was pretty good too.
Yeah.
But I didn't like it as much as, but it was a good movie.
Yeah, it was great. I think it was banned for a while.
No, Irmedium wasn't banned.
That was Purana Kalur.
No, Purana Kalura, not Iramediam.
Burhan the Khalwar
Yeah,
was
Chandrika banned it, right?
Yeah, because it was demoralizing to the troops.
Yeah.
That was the excuse. But yeah, it was banned for a while.
But that was a common criticism for like a lot of these movies back in the day, remember?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
again, like war movies would
yeah.
anyway get, because I don't think anyone made like a, for want of a better word, happy war movie.
Right.
Like as far as I remember, only art house cinema dealt with war, and they were all like very realistic or very sad takes on it. Like nothing like the Americans make, like saying, okay, the army is wonderful, the great, like gay, and none of that was made here as far as I know.
Yeah, but there's this argument that a lot of those movies kind of like pander to Western ideas of what life is like in Sri Lanka, and that they don't really.
I'm not entirely agreeable with that notion.
I mean, this is not my personal opinion.
No,
it's a criticism that I've heard.
I get it, but I think I can't really name examples, but I can see, I definitely remember like some films where I thought maybe these guys had an agenda, but there are good films that it's not an agenda, like it is believable that this is a situation that could happen.
Right.
I don't think they were awards bait.
That's a very common criticism, right? I mean, not just here. Like when an Indian wins the Booker Prize, they say the same thing.
Like Western propaganda or
Yeah.
something like that.
I mean, it's not so much an agenda as it is like. It's just. They look at it from a very Western perspective.
But again, I think there is a very defensive Sri Lankan mentality where
Right.
anything bad is definitely labeled as something
Unpatriotic. or whatever.
like a attack from beyond the shores,
Right.
which it's not necessarily true, mainly because I don't think Sri Lanka is important enough for that to happen.
Right.
But yeah, I can understand some movies being labeled as such, but there are good movies I think which are actual really well done.
Could you name a few?
I think I really like Purana Kalura for starters.
Yeah, that was great.
Right. So okay, just name a couple of Sri Lankan movies that every Sri Lankan should see, basically.
Well, honestly, my favorite Sri Lankan movie is Columbus Onion. I love it. It's not realistic, but I love that.
But that's what you love about it, right?
Yeah, that's what I love
Yeah.
about it. That's what I love about it.
Tell us why you liked it. What you liked about it.
It's not all the jokes land. They aren't like out of character. They aren't like it's not like there are films where it's obvious you just pluck the joke out of something and just put it there. It has a coherent story. Everyone's acting really well, and it's just beyond the realm of plausibility. So it's not completely out there. So
And very self-deprecating
very
as well.
self-deprecating. So I really like that. I don't think there's been a better Sri Lankan comedy. It's very hard to top that. I really like Jayantha Chandrasiri's work, for better or for worse. I think that non-mainstream take on stories is really interesting.
Are you referring to his television work or his film work?
Both. Either way,
Don't you feel like he's kind of stagnated?
he hasn't made something in a while, yeah. But
No, but his recent work has not been up to par, right? I mean,
but his recent work.
there was that
Samanal Sandhu.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't really like that.
I mean, I really liked not what was his? Sorry, I forget the one with Kamal Adrarachi and Yashoda. Agnidahe.
Agnidahe.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
So he has a few of those, like Agnidahe, Guerrilla Marketing also had those two.
Yeah.
And what was that? There was another film with those two. So yeah, definitely his old stuff is way better than what.
I personally prefer his television work.
Yes, probably.
Like Don Basamane.
Yeah, probably.
Although I didn't think Akala Sandhya was that great. It was a bit of a clunky mess, I thought.
I thought no, there was another. Wasn't there another one after Akala Sandhya? Sort of the same.
By him?
Yeah, by him.
I forget. This was both in the 90s, right? Akala Sandhya was also like late 90s?
Yeah, Akala Sandhya. That was in the 90s. Akala Sandhya was also 90s. I remember something with another.
Vedahamini was long before that.
Vedahamini was long before that. But yeah, I sort of remember something, another one with sort of time travel and meditation.
Oh, really?
Something.
But you're not thinking of Manokai, are you? That's not by him.
No, not
okay.
Manokai. Manokai wasn't by him, no.
That was
also
that
nice.
was interesting.
That was interesting.
Yeah. Buddhada Savitanachi was in a lot of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he just lends himself to that character.
What is the genre? There is an unusual genre.
I mean,
It's not really
I
fantasy. It's not really sci-fi.
It's not
there are
sci-fi.
elements of sci-fi. There are elements of.
I wouldn't call it sci-fi, to be honest. There's no.
I mean, there's time travel.
Yeah, but there's no technology.
Yeah.
Time travel is not necessarily technology.
Yeah.
Can tell you half a dozen animes that aren't technological at least and has time travel in them. So it's not necessarily. I think closest is fantasy.
Right. My problem with Jayanta Chandrasekhar is that he kind of comes across as his work, his recent work at least feels very bloated and it almost feels like an intellectual jerk off, you know, like it's too weighty. There's too much going on and it's trying to intellectualize
I can understand
too much
that.
and it just kind of falls apart. It just doesn't always work.
I can understand that.
And he's like, I mean, I love Jackson Anthony, but he has a tendency to overact sometimes, right? Especially in Jayanta's movies.
I think he gets the leeway to do that.
Right.
His it's not like you don't get such expansive characters in anywhere else, really.
No, true.
I think that's a right criticism.
Maybe he needs to just get back to television.
Probably, yeah.
Because I feel like that's where he's like really comfortable.
The longer form, stretch out instead of like trying to cram everything into something. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. What are some good teledramas these days?
I have no idea, honestly. Like TV, Sri Lankan TV, I've really fallen out of. And like honestly, like I watched an episode of Devanini and I regret every second of it.
I told you the same thing, right?
Yeah. Is it really that bad? I haven't watched it at all. Like I haven't seen anything.
I'm not an expert to say it because I haven't watched more than half an hour of it. But at half an hour, I really couldn't stomach it.
Don't you want to watch it even for the memes?
Nope.
No? It's huge, right?
It's huge. So the only reason Kumbio won like best drama or something,
popular
drama, is because the fan base was so dedicated. Otherwise, Devanini has by far and large the bigger audience. So what are you guys watching these days?
I was watching this British sitcom called Peep Show. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that, but it's very highly recommended.
Yeah, it is. So there's this comedy duo, David Mitchell and Robert Webb, and they play two friends who share a flat in London, and it's so cringy, like the stuff that happens to them and what they go through, their relationships. Like they are two very broken people, but they try to get through stuff and like fuck up in almost everything they do, and it's so fun to watch. That's I mean the humor is in their failures basically. And that's, I think I've noticed that a lot in British comedies. They use that a lot.
They use that a lot.
Yeah, like self-derogatory, self-deprecating humor is very common in British comedy. So I've been enjoying that a lot, and they're like 25-minute episodes, short episodes. About 8 seasons, I think, and one season has about 6 episodes. So it's like a very, I mean, you don't have to spend a lot of time on that. So that's one thing I like about when I try to choose something to watch. That's one factor that I look for, like how long is it, because time is also a concern. So that was quite good. Yeah, but even more than that, I quite enjoyed The Good Place. It's an NBC production, and
Kristen Bell and
Ted Danson. Yeah, 2 seasons are on Netflix. I think they have 3 seasons out. So I'm looking forward to the next one as well. It's basically the story of a woman who dies, and it's a story based in the afterlife. So she goes to the good place. So there's no heaven, no hell in this universe. There's a good place and a bad place, and the good place is obviously for people who have been good during their lives, and the bad place is for the bad people. And this woman is basically like a proper bitch, and she's in the wrong place. She should ideally have gone to the bad place, but she's at the good place because of a admin error, and she's basically trying to keep up appearances. So she meets another person who is in the good, who has come to the good place. He's a ethics and moral philosophy professor. She basically tells him the story. So the professor knows the real story, that she does not belong here, but then he doesn't want to reveal her secrets, because he thinks then he'll be basically putting her in trouble, and he'll be betraying a friend. But he also wants to tell the truth because he values the truth, and he can't lie. He has an aversion to lying. So it's it's a comedy, of course, and I thought it was really well made, and Kristen Bell was amazing in that. Yeah, you should check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, I haven't, but I really wanted to, because I'm a big Kristen Bell fan ever since Veronica Mars.
Right.
Really love that show.
I watched the first episode. It's pretty good. Speaking of Kristen Bell, she's in an audio drama for anyone out there who likes to listen to podcast drama. What do you call them? Audio dramas? Yeah. Is that what they're called? Yeah. It's called Deadly Manners. It's, I think, set in the 1930s or 40s, and Kristen Bell plays this socialite, and she throws up a party. Once the guests come in, and there's like a storm outside, and they kind of get locked in and they can't go out, and then there's like a murder spree happening inside the house. Like people just start dropping dead, and the premise of the story is to basically, like, it's kind of a whodunit, right? And it's pretty good. She's fantastic in it.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so check it out.
Oh, when you said 1930s, if you like period comedies, you should definitely watch this thing called The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Say that again. The Marvelous
Mrs. Maisel.
Okay.
So the pitch is it's this Jewish housewives in the 1960s, 50s, 60s. So her husband suddenly leaves her, and she has a breakdown, and she basically goes and vents to a stand-up club, and the audience loves her. And after that, she just starts trying to become a stand-up comic. It's her outlet, and it's really funny. The lead actress is something Rachel Brosnahan or something like that, and it's really, really fun. It's actual proper stand-up comedy, and like it's set in like real life, quote-unquote real life New York City, and you have like old comedians, like people playing old comedians like Lenny Bruce and Langston Hughes and that sort of people. If you like period dramas and you like comedies, you should definitely watch that. I'm a big fan of the showrunner of Mrs. May's, Amy Sherman Palladino, who started out with Gilmore Girls, which I know a lot of people hate, but I actually like it.
I could never get into that.
Yeah, it's a very...
They talk way too fast,
Yes,
man.
it's a very love it or hate it show. So fun fact, even the actors didn't know all the references in their dialogue.
Right.
They were going at mild and they didn't know what they were talking about.
Like, was that intentional? I mean, they were fucking breaking the sound barrier.
It was intentional. It was in the script. So apparently, I remember watching some the actress who played Lorelai Gilmore, the lead actress, says that most usually their scripts would last 40 pages, like a page a minute, but Gilmore Girls scripts would always be like 80, something like that.
Holy
So
shit.
it was intentionally that they would talk so much, but so that seems to be kind of a common thread with Sherman Palladino's shows. After Gilmore Girls, she did a short-lived show called Bunheads about a ballet academy in a small town. I just watched it for lols. I thought I'd hate it. I really loved it. It's a very deceptively... it doesn't seem like it's a good drama, but it's a really good drama. It's got really good humor. After Bunheads, it's this Mrs. Maisel thing, and it's also really good. Like, I have been watching like unusual comedies, like not the procedural type comedies like Big Bang Theory, not like that. So there's this really... So the lead actress from Bunheads went on to star in, is a Broadway star. She went on to star in this comedy called Younger. Again, she is a divorced mother trying to find a job in New York City, but she's too old now. She's in her 40s. She's too old. No one wants to hire her. So what she does is she pretends she's 20 and applies to a job and is immediately hired as a PA. And now she's very successful in this publishing company, and like people are starting to notice her, but she has to still try and pretend that she's 20. It's like gone on for 4 seasons. It's a really good comedy.
Sorry, what's it called again?
Younger.
Okay.
Literally just Younger. And there's also this thing called You're the Worst. It's a very, very depressing comedy. So it's this story of a publishing executive, if I remember correctly, and she's in a relationship with a British writer. And it's both of them trying to navigate depression in Los Angeles for 4 seasons. It's insanely dark, but it's very realistic-ish dark, because they also have a friend living with them who's back from war service and is also dealing with his own PTSD. And it was like credited with one of the best depictions of depression, instead of like people wailing and jumping off buildings and stuff, which is usually how depression is portrayed. For an entire season, this character just shut down, and it's all of her trying to like wake up and trying to get with her day, but she just doesn't have the mental capacity to do it. And it ends up being funny, but it's also credited with saying this is a very realistic depiction of depression that you don't really see anywhere else. So that's also something I really recommend watching if you're into like unusual comedies.
Speaking of realistic depiction of depression, have you guys watched Bojack Horseman?
That's something I want to get into. It I really couldn't get into it.
You should. It's amazing.
Yeah, everyone a lot of people I know love it.
Yeah, like the season 1, like the first few episodes may not be for everyone, but beyond that, it gets like consistently good. Like there has not been a bad episode since. The writing is phenomenal. The cast is fantastic, and the critics are raving for a reason. No, it's that good.
What do you like about it?
What do I like about it? It's very that's a great question. I've never thought of it that way. I mean, first of all, it's funny, and I'm not like a depressive person. I mean, I'm not that I would self-diagnose or anything, but like Bojack is, I find to be a very relatable character, and the way he's kind of like stumbling through life and jumping from one thing to another, and his relationships are like beyond messed up, and he's a guy with like the best of intentions, and yet somehow manages to colossally fuck up. and there is something, and he's also like a has-been movie star, right? And he TV show star, and he's rich and successful and all that. But he as a has-been, nobody really takes him seriously, and he's tried to kind of like reinvent his life and his career, and all the while he keeps on fucking up and disappointing people. And I don't know. There's something like he is a very larger than life character, but there's something also very relatable about him, I find. So yeah, give it a watch.
So is that your everyday show, or what do you? Is that?
I mean, it's on season
escapism?
5 now. I just started watching season 5. Like I'm on episode 4 now. I think it's so far so good. It has not disappointed me.
So that's your escapism.
I mean, it's a show starring people and animals. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't call that escapism because it's quite depressing sometimes. But it's depressing in a good way. I mean, is that an okay thing to say? I don't know. You know how sometimes you really like sad songs, like there's like there
is enjoyment in sadness.
I mean it's a if you take any one random episode of the show, there's like a lot to unpack. It's very heavy, very emotionally loaded, but also lighthearted at the same time. It's like a study in the human condition.
He's been telling me to watch it for like, I don't know, a couple of months now. I still didn't get around to watching it.
He's there are a lot of people that really love Bojack Horseman. And it's definitely it's beyond the culture now. A lot of people, it's pretty much mainstream now. A lot of people really love it. I still haven't seen it.
You have Netflix, right?
Then I don't think I use the quote unquote old way of watching Western TV shows.
Oh, let's not encourage unethical behavior here. Unethical online behavior. Let's not do that.
Because I don't think Netflix is worth the money you pay for it in Sri Lanka, because you only get to see Netflix shows.
Right. My problem with Netflix is that, not that it's a problem, it's a good problem to have. Like when I'm confronted with so much choice, I like really struggle. Like
so that is the thing. Now in 2018 going into 2019, there is no way you can call anyone an expert on TV shows anymore. Which is also something I wanted to tell you when you asked me to come on.
Dili, okay, fine. If you don't want to call yourself an expert, Dili is like a connoisseur of popular culture.
No, I used to be. I agree. A few years ago, I used to like watch everything.
Yeah, you used to binge like.
Yeah, I used
pretty
to
much
binge
every TV show that was out there.
Now I don't. And because now I don't, and it's a shame because now a lot of TV shows are actually good. Like back in the day, I would binge things like Big Bang Theory. I'm sorry if there are fans out there, but
that show is terrible. It's the worst fucking sitcom ever.
It's a terrible show.
I like the first and second season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed like the first couple of seasons.
No,
but
then I think we just got hooked onto the novelty.
Yeah.
Because I watched like one of those clips of it just popped up on Facebook, and so Penny is like going up to see Leonard in the apartment, and Leonard has I don't remember the other person's name, and Sheldon has been kicked out of the apartment, and he's sitting on the stairs, and Penny asks, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm playing Mario on an N64 emulator," and cue laugh track. That's not a joke. That's not a joke, and nowadays it's not even a quote unquote nerdy thing. Most normal people know how to do that. And I remember the Nerd Writer YouTube channel making this exact point. I know you hate it. I know you hate it, but that's why I first.
I'm not a big fan.
But that's why I first really noticed this point. Like they aren't making jokes; they're just laughing at nerds.
Yeah.
They say something really nerdy and play a laugh track.
It's something that studio executives think
Yeah,
nerds are like.
Yeah, like either what Chuck Lowe and what is the partner think. I know a lot of people are fans of theirs, and I mean
they've done some great work.
They've done some good work, but the Big Bang Theory is just sad. Now,
what is happening to the sitcom format now? Anyway, is it like?
No, it's still there. There are plenty of people that still watch it. Matt LeBlanc quit Top Gear and he's doing a sitcom
again.
Yeah, he's doing a sitcom again.
How old is he now?
50s, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, like I didn't think he'd quit Top Gear. That's like Motorhead Nirvana, and he's a big Motorhead, but he quit that and he's doing a sitcom. So that traditional format is still there. It's just not as noticed, let's say.
Right.
CBS shows are still very much the same. Like the police procedurals and old sitcom styles, they're all there on CBS. And if I remember correctly, they're still the most watched regular network in the US.
When you say sitcom, you mean like recorded in front of a live
Yeah,
audience?
that traditional format that you're familiar, that we all like, Big Bang Theory, How I Met Your Mother, Friends, that sort of thing, that sort of studio set thing, that's still very much there. Like all the other, like Bojack Horseman, The Otherverse, the other things that you're talking about, they're usually on like other networks, like cable channels, FX or HBO, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, Bojack is a Netflix show, but
Yeah, exactly. So that old format is definitely there, but I don't think they're gaining as much attention because there are more risque things on the other shows that are like more talked about.
Have you? Are you a fan of Rick and Morty?
I'm not.
Yeah, I mean I liked it at the start, but then it became a bit too edgy for me. It's just
I'll be honest, I'm not the best person to talk about Bojack and Rick and Morty because for some reason, the only quote-unquote Western animation I like is Avatar. I just cannot get into it. I love anime. There are absurdly weird anime that I like, but I can't get into Rick and Morty, and I really can't explain why.
But you're not a fan either.
I mean, I used to be. The first season, I suppose, yeah. I mean, like a good portion of season 1, but I don't know. It was just like it's got like edgelord written all over it.
I accept that it's a good show, and like a lot of people I respect their taste that really love it. It's just something that I don't personally vibe with. It's a good show. It's very different from like it's a smart show. I think like perhaps it's devolved into edgy humor maybe, but I think it's a lot smarter than a lot of other shows that are just populating the TV landscape, especially for animation. So yeah, I think it's a good show. It's just not something I personally vibe with.
What about Futurama and?
Again, same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
I haven't gotten into it. It's not
Yeah, me
something
neither.
I
It's not
get
something I
into.
ever got into. That new movie, it's an anthology film, Last Stories
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Netflix. I only managed to watch the first 2 stories. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Very well received, I think.
It was.
But I have seen some criticism about how it's. I mean, even though it's supposed to be pretty progressive and stuff, right? But it's not really that. It kind of like
yeah,
peddles the same tropes
Yeah.
and.
I guess I
Yeah.
don't. I suppose.
But it was at least the 2 I saw looked well directed and well acted. So
I think the Netflix influence is pretty clear on
yeah,
that.
man, why can't we get some of that Netflix money?
Because no one cares
Like
about Sri Lanka.
our industries. I mean, yeah, I know we're a blip. We're like it's a insignificantly small market, but come
Though
on.
I wonder what would happen if, say, something like Chandran Ratnam's The Common Man got some Netflix backing.
Yeah, because
Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley was in it.
Yeah, and it was a passable script, I think. Not. It's not the worst. It's a matter of love. But
What's it about?
so Ben Kingsley plays this quote unquote terrorist who plants bombs all over Colombo and demands the police commissioner to release a bunch of people from jail. Police commissioner also played by Ben Cross, who is a British actor.
Sri Lankan Police Commissioner.
Yep, in Sri Lankan khaki dress uniform.
Okay.
It's very jarring. So if you haven't seen it, just watch it from somewhere. I'm not going to spoil it. It's worth it just to see Ben Kingsley in a Sri Lankan movie. But yeah, it's not the worst thing I've seen. But it's with some decent people consulting or backing it, maybe it could have been something good.
Yeah, another more recent Chandran Ratnam film that is pretty much, you could say, the definition of jarring is According to Matthew.
I haven't seen it yet, so I can't really speak about it. But I've heard that from a lot of people.
Like the acting was terrible. I mean, like there's nothing redeemable about it at all. The script is the script is actually not that bad. It's just the delivery, and like it's so wooden, and it's like they're reading lines. The main guy, what's his name?
Aston Cobb.
Yeah, he was okay, but only in comparison to everyone else. Like even Jacqueline, I mean, she has some experience now, right, in Bollywood, but nope, just no. Which is a shame because it's such a good story, and there was potential. I mean, it could have been turned into like a really good erotic thriller or something. Like, talk about a missed opportunity, right? Like,
and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, it had such a lot of hype behind it, like years in the making.
Right.
Like Sunday Times was doing articles
I
on that
remember,
2013.
Yeah.
So it had a lot of hype behind it. So
I remember the book. What's the
Victor Fernandez's book?
Yeah, even like the cover said like a major motion picture or something a few years ago, right? Yeah. But too bad, man. Like such a good story is wasted.
Somehow the execution gets screwed up.
Yeah. I mean, Chandran Ratnam is not a terrible director. I mean, you said A Common Man was not that good. I haven't seen that, but didn't he also make Road from Elephant Pass?
Yeah, he did. That was his.
That was good.
That was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah. Ashan Das was alright in it. I forget who the girl was. That was a decent movie.
That was some new Tamil actress, if I remember correctly.
Okay, right. Yeah. Alright, so it's been great. We had a really good discussion, and catch you guys in the next one. And
we have to give him some
like a token of
so
what we have to give him.
Try it again and don't end.
Don't end it. Just let me talk.
Oh right. Okay. So, sorry. Yeah. My bad. Yeah. Okay. You know what? You don't have to cut this part out. It's fine. Like this is Himal. Fucking yeah. Himal being Himal. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So Dili.
Yeah. So Dili, like if anyone wants to get in touch with you about talk about movies or whatever, where can people find you?
Easiest way to find me is on Twitter @Dili @DILI. I'm also on Facebook, but technically not because I never check Facebook. Find me on Twitter or like see if I write something raw along these lines, and you can comment on it saying I missed this or something, because that has happened a few times and I've learned a lot like that.
Right. So Big Bang Theory fans, if you want to send Dili hate mail.
Yes. Yeah. So thanks for having me, guys, and
thank you for coming.
Yeah.
All right. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.